Currently, linguists estimate that there are just over 6,900 languages spoken on Earth, and they all had to start somewhere. There are several languages that we can trace back thousands of years, and some go back further than you probably realize. Hello, I am Cindy. Welcome to the episode of Oldest Written Languages. Number 10. Arabic. Arabic can be traced all the way back early 300, and has evolved over time from a variant of the language referred to as Old Arabic. The first known example of the Arabic language was from the Namar inscription, which was discovered in 1901. The inscription was found on a basalt rock, which could have come from a tomb. This is significant because it proved that the Romans and Arabs knew about each other in the 4th century, which was unknown previous to that. Number 9. Mayan languages. The Mayan family of languages is one of the oldest in the world. There are 32 different dialects of the Mayan language. All of them can be traced back to the original, which comes from the 3rd century. The earliest Mayan language examples were not words. Instead, they were small pictures called glyphs. The first known example of the Mayan language was found at the ruins of Tikal, an ancient city that was discovered in the rainforest of Guatemala. Number 8. Sanskrit. Another ancient language is Sanskrit, and it dates to around the 1st century of after death. The first known example of Sanskrit was found in the city of Ayodhya, which is in India. There are many variations of Sanskrit, and for about 2,000 years it was the main language of several areas of Southeast Asia. Although Sanskrit is still listed as one of the official languages of India, as of the 2001 census, only 14,135 people listed it as their official language. Number 7. Tamil. The Tamil language is still the primary language of the Tamil people, and forms of it date back all the way to 500 before Christ. Remarkably, there are still more than 70 million people who still speak Tamil today. Of all of the languages of India, Tamil is the only one that can be recognized by modern speakers throughout time. For instance, someone who speaks Tamil today could read ancient Tamil texts. Number 6. Latin. You might think that Latin is a dead language, but that is not quite true. Traditionally, people saw Latin as a language on paper, but not one that is traditionally spoken. Pope Benedict XVI changed that when he resigned from his post in Latin in 2013. The oldest form of Latin is known as Old Latin. Classical Latin, which is what we are most familiar with today, was the common language in the area. It is unknown how many people speak a form of Latin in modern times, but there are many Latin enthusiasts out there who keep the language alive. Number 5. Aramaic. Aramaic has been around for more than 3,000 years, but is considered endangered today, because most of the people who speak it are well past retirement age. Some forms of Aramaic are already considered dead, and more are getting closer all the time. You might recognize Aramaic, as it is commonly referred to as the biblical language, and scholars believe that this is the language spoken by Jesus and his disciples. Number 4. Old Chinese. As you might expect, Old Chinese is the precursor of modern Chinese. It dates back to more than 3,000 years ago. The oldest known example of Old Chinese was found at the archaeological site of the ancient city of Yankus. Here the researchers found oracle bones with the earliest form of the Chinese language. Researchers believe that there were about 4,000 different characters in Old Chinese. Number 3. Mycenaean Greek. Mycenaean Greek is the earliest form of the Greek language, and it dates as far back as the 16th century before Christ. There are several existing examples of Mycenaean Greek, and the language has been deciphered since the 1950s. The text that has been found is mostly inventory records and lists. There is no known literature written in Mycenaean Greek. Number 2. Egyptian language. The ancient Egyptian language is fairly common to everyone, thanks to their use of hieroglyphics. For many years, teams of linguists have translated this language, which means we can greatly understand many of the texts that have been found. This language was spoken until around the 17th century, though the writing changed over time. The first known sentence written in the Egyptian language was found in a tomb and dates back to 2690 before Christ. Number 1. Sumerian Language. The oldest known written language is Sumerian, and it dates back to at least 3500 before Christ. The earliest proof that the written Sumerian language existed was the Kish tablet, which was found in Iraq. Sumerian was unknown to the world until the 19th century, until archaeologists began to find evidence of the language. That is all for this episode. If you have got any information, do like, share and subscribe.